Hello and welcome to the YouTube channel of indiaballer.com. In the previous video in this section, I have discussed about how to create an analytical approach in boiler operation and maintenance practices. I told you that take a close look at each and every subsystem present in the total boiler system, each and every component in that subsystem, and ask these questions. What is the objective of it? What is the basic principle following which it works? And the third is, what are the present practical limitations that we are facing in that particular system or component, right? So in this particular video, I'm going to talk about the circulation system in the evaporator. Actually, there will be two parts in this. I won't be able to complete in one single video. So in the part one, I am going to talk about why the circulation, that is, what is the objective of this, right? And my next one, that is part two, then I'm going to talk about what is the or what makes the circulation possible, how the circulation is created, and of course the difference between natural circulation and forced circulation and once through circulation system, where it is needed, and all those details. Okay, so here in this particular one, first we want to take a look at what is the objective of the circulation in the evaporator. You know, evaporator, we are talking about, when I talk about not the ones through the other two circulations, so we are talking about the subcritical system in a subcritical system boiler, that is where the pressure is less than 225 bar, right? Now, the need of circulation, if I want to take a look, then I have to go to the evaporator, take a look what is happening there. Now, inside the evaporator, where the combustion is taking place, right, the conventional boiler system, the gas temperature or the furnace temperature goes as high as 1100-1200 degrees centigrade. Now, all these evaporator water valve tubes, right, they are basically facing a gas temperature of around 1100-1200 degrees centigrade, sometimes even a little more. Now, what is this water valve made of? Basically, in all the subcritical systems, that means I'm talking about up to 600 megawatt power plant boiler, all these subcritical systems, the water valve metallurgy is plain carbon steel. It is SA210 grade A1 or grade C. Earlier you used to find SA210 grade A1. Nowadays, for the last 10 years or so, the boilers are made of SA210 grade C metallurgy, which is basically medium carbon steel. But whether it is low carbon steel or medium carbon steel, there is a limitation of temperature for carbon steel, because at a temperature of around 400 degree, in fact 370 degree to be precise, there is a particular phenomena occur in carbon steel, a particular damage mechanism occurs in carbon steel, and that is called creep. I'm not going to talk about creep in this video. That would be the purview of some other videos, right, that I'm going to make definitely. But creep is a mechanism which ultimately going to lead to an overheating failure in the carbon steel. And unfortunately, carbon steel does not have any strength against creep, right? That is a problem. Carbon steel absolutely does not have any strength against creep. So whenever the creep starts, it leads to a very fast failure. So that is called a short-term overheating failure, where there will be bulging and a thin lip fracture, something like a fish mouth type opening will be there in the water valve tubes, right? Now, how does this component survive when it is exposed to such a high temperature, whereas the limitation is only 370-380 degrees centigrade? How it survives? Okay, to understand that, we need to understand what is happening inside the tube. Now inside the tube, that is basically the water which is at saturation temperature, right? Because steam is forming from the drum, so naturally the water has to be at saturation temperature. And even for a very high pressure boiler, for example, let us say a 500 megawatt unit boiler, the pressure is in the range of around 185, 190 kg per centimeter square. The corresponding saturation temperature will be in the range of around 355 degree centigrade. So 355 degrees centigrade is a temperature. If we can maintain on the metal, then there will be no problem of creep, right? That is the understanding. So this is happening in the boiler through a system of heat transfer that is called nucleate boiling system. Now what is nucleate boiling? Since the water is at saturation temperature, whenever the heat is added, there will be steam bubble formation, right? There will be transition to the steam's phase. And during this transition, there is no change in temperature. So if it is, let us say, 350 degrees centigrade saturation temperature, steam bubbles are forming at 350 degree. And when the steam bubbles form, immediately afterwards, it moves away from the surface of the tube, right? Now that is called nucleate boiling. Now what is nucleate boiling? Nucleate boiling is continuous formation of steam bubble on the surface of the tube and immediate dislodge of the steam bubble to the main body of the water, right? And that is the process through which heat is continuously being transferred from the flue gas side to the water inside the tube, and the steam is also formed in the same process. Now one good thing we have is that the rate at which the heat is given from the flue gas to the metal and the rate at which the metal is giving the heat to the water will depend on the heat transfer coefficient between these two media. Now the heat transfer coefficient for the heat transfer from the metal to the water is far greater than the heat transfer coefficient when the heat is transferred from the flue gas to the metal. What does it mean? It means the rate at which the heat is added to the metal gives away the heat to the water at much faster rate. As a result, what is going to happen? The metal temperature will remain very close to the water temperature inside. Yes, definitely it will be a little higher because heat always goes from high temperature to low temperature, but it will be never greater than 10 to 15 degree more than the water temperature. So even if the water temperature is at 350 degrees centigrade, the metal temperature can go as high as 360, 365, not more than that. And definitely for carbon steel, that is a acceptable temperature, right? So because of this, since the steam is forming at a saturation temperature, immediately leaving the surface, and the water at saturation temperature coming in contact with the metal again, the metal temperature will never exceed the limitation temperature of 370 degrees centigrade. And that's why we can very well use the carbon steel metallurgy in our tube, right? Now a couple of questions might come into the mind, right? For example, steam bubbles are forming. Why it is getting dislodged immediately? What makes it move away from the surface, right? So if that doesn't happen, then what is going to happen? That is called departure from nucleate boiling. Now what departure from nucleate boiling means? In departure from nucleate boiling, the steam bubble will be formed, but it will not move away. It will stick there, right? It will get stuck there and they will grow in size and then they will coalesce, and when they join, they will make a film over the surface, and that is called film boiling. It's also called stratification of steam, right? So this layer of steam forming over the surface of the water, now what is happening? When the heat is added, Now this heat is going to go to the steam, not the water. Yes, we know that the steam formation takes place at constant temperature. Whatever the saturation temperature of water, at same temperature the steam will form. But once the steam forms, if it is further heated, what happens? Then we know it becomes superheated steam. Right? Superheated steam where the temperature has got no limitation. It can be as high as 450, 500, 600, 700. And the moment the temperature goes beyond 400 degrees centigrade, the carbon steel cannot withstand that temperature and it is going to immediately fail in what you call a short-term overheating failure. Right? Bulging, fish mouth type opening, a thin lip fracture. Right? If you take a microstructure of this failed component, the microstructure by a trained metallurgist will immediately suggest that yes, the component has been exposed to a very high temperature. Right? So why it is not happening? Why the nucleate boiling is taking place? Why the steam bubbles are going out? Right? These are the questions it might come. Why the steam bubbles are going out? Now somebody might say that okay, steam bubbles are having lesser density, right? So is it because of that? Because of lesser density there is a buoyancy, and because of the buoyancy the steam bubble is going out. But then the question will come, okay, when we are talking about lesser density, then is this density difference is constant? The answer is no. The density difference is not constant. It depends on the pressure. As the pressure goes up, the density difference comes down, right? So yeah, at atmospheric pressure the density difference is, you can say, 1600 times. So 1 liter of water, if it becomes steam under atmospheric pressure, it will become 1600 liters of water, and that's a pretty much big difference in the density. Right? Now, if I actually observe what is happening under atmospheric pressure condition, right? So let us take a look the steam formation under atmospheric pressure condition. The same will not be true when the pressure goes up. For example, when the pressure is around 120 kg per centimeter square, the density difference comes down to only 9.6 times. And at critical pressure, that means at 225 bar, right, 220.9 or 221.9 bar actually, the density difference will be 0 because the density of steam and density of water will be same. Now even at atmospheric pressure where the density difference is 1600 times, we can see when we heat up a bowl of water, right? We heat up a bowl of water, we see that steam bubbles are forming. Yes, fine, that is happening. The continuous nucleate boiling is taking place. But have you seen what happens in the beginning? When just the water is heated, when just the initial steam bubbles are formed, have you noticed what happens? If you notice, you will find that no, the steam bubbles are not coming out, right? The steam bubbles are actually sticking to the bottom. Yeah, over a period of time, this bottom, the steam bubbles which are stuck at the bottom, they will grow in numbers, and then suddenly you will find one bubble is coming out, then two bubbles are coming out, then quite a few number of bubbles are coming out frequently, and after some time you are going to have the nucleate boiling. That means steam bubbles are not going to stick to the surface. But initially it is not so. Initially steam bubbles will be definitely get stuck, right? Now the question is, that means even the density difference of 1600 times is not creating any change. That means the whatever the surface tension the steam bubbles are having with the metal body of that pan, the buoyancy is not enough to overcome it. So something must be pushing it away, right? So that is how we come to a conclusion. No, it is the circulation in the water which is creating the flow through the system evaporator circuit, and this particular flow is actually pushing the steam bubbles away and creating the nucleate boiling system. Now that is the importance of circulation. Unless you have circulation in the evaporator circuit, the nucleate boiling, which is the core uh, philosophy of steam generation in a boiler, the nucleate boiling will not be possible. And if there is some problem with the circulation, if there is less circulation, therefore there will be less motive force to push away the steam bubble. That means the steam bubble are going to get stuck, and that is going to lead to film boiling and later on overheating failure in the boiler. Okay, now I am going to conclude this discussion of this video here, right? In the next video, part 2, I'm going to talk about how the circulation is created, what are the factors which are basically important to look into to maintain the circulation. Then another question, when the natural circulation will not be enough and we'll have to go for a forced circulation by adding a pump, right? Now all these questions we are going to answer in the next part, which will be coming up soon. You can subscribe this channel and click on the notification bell to get a notification whenever my next video comes up here, right? With that, I would say bye bye and thank you very much.